Hey guys, hope everybody's having a good day out there today. Welcome back to another edition of Intuitive Angling. Really appreciate you joining me for the video. And today I'm going to give you guys my opinion why offshore fishing is no fun anymore. It's no fun for me anymore. And I'm going to go into great detail on this, explain the evolution, explain how I went from somebody that decades ago loved to fish offshore, and I did it a lot, to somebody now that can't stand it because of technology. And I'm gonna go through this. I think it's a conversation worth having. But real quick before we get started here, just wanted to give you guys a weekly reminder. Anybody out there interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Randy Blockett Professional Angler. I'll give you all the details on that about booking the trip. Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about this. Here's the deal on we've talked about technology a lot on this channel. You guys know my opinion. You know I'm anti-live scope, and you know I'm not into technology, that type of stuff. At one point, guys, I love to fish offshore. I got into the offshore fishing before a lot of people did. I was triangulating offshore structures and deep cranking and fish finding areas with a flasher back in the late 80s before anyone else did it, along with guys like Paul Elias, David Fritz, some of the local guys around here in Missouri. So I got in it on the ground floor, and there was a period of about 5 or 6 years where it was just so much fun. I mean, once we figured out what to look for, you could go out and find these areas and fish through them, and you were fishing for an untapped group of fish. It was unbelievable. Some of the days I had, like on Grand Lake in Oklahoma, Table Rock, a lot of different places. I won a Central Pro-Am Titleist tournament early on, deep cranking back on Table Rock in June. So, excuse me, I've got a lot of experience with it. And then what happened, as we've talked before, I've gradually lost interest in it because, to me, technology has taken the fun out of it. I'm going to explain what I mean by that a little bit here just in a second. First of all, guys, I want to draw an analogy between offshore fishing and technology and deer hunting, because I know there's a lot of deer hunters out there, a lot of bow hunters. Let's take the opposite end of the spectrum. Technology has transformed the sport of bow hunting into an unrecognizable sport. You've got these high-tech compound bows, cam action bows that look like something from outer space. You got guys using drones to find deer. You got trail cams. You got all this scent blocking equipment. It's just super, super high tech. That's on one end of the spectrum. And then also on the other end of the spectrum, you have the camp, what I'm from in this, when I was deer hunting, is the primitive skill bow hunting, where you go out and you find a sapling and you make your own bow through the ancient art of bow making. You actually craft this bow yourself, make the string for it. Sometimes you'll even make your own arrows, that type of stuff. And instead of using all the stuff like the drones and the trail cams that guys do, you actually had to have some real hunting skills. You had to be able to track. Most people don't know how to track anymore. Most hunters do not know how to track, which is, in my opinion, the measure of a true hunter is your ability to track and stalk, get close to game. I don't consider somebody that doesn't know how to track and doesn't know how to get close to game, I don't consider them a hunter. So anyway, on the primitive side of it, you have to be a master tracker, stalker. You have to understand the movements of those deer at different times, and you have to get extremely close to that animal to kill it, excuse me, with your equipment, because you don't have a powerful bow. So in doing that, as far as being able to get close to an animal like that and kill it with a bow you make yourself, that takes real skill. That takes real hunting. It's an art form that people don't have anymore. So it's the same with electronics and fishing today. It's like back when I started out, guys, we had a paper map, just a paper topographical map. You had a compass, and you had not even a 2D, you had a flasher, like the old Humminbird flashers. And you went out offshore and you scouted these areas based upon, the maps that you had, like the Corps of Engineers, or the can't remember the names of the people who made it, but basically the Army Corps of Engineers had maps, topographical maps of the lake. You put these maps on your lap, you idled around with your compass out there, and you found these places with your 2D flasher. No GPS. You didn't have any way to get back to it. I mean, if you found a place way out of the bank, you had to know how to triangulate that place in order to catch the fish out of it. And guys, to me, this is true fishing. You were hunting these fish. You had to be, there was an art form to reading a map and to using a compass and to be able to triangulate and to be able to decipher blips on a flasher, all this together. And you didn't know what was down there. The flashers were not used to find fish or even bait fish. Basically, all the flasher was in your boat was to detect the bottom, how deep the bottom was. So if you pulled up to a point or a creek channel intersection or a ledge or something like that, it's not like it is today where guys just live scope and side image them to find out if there's anything else and move on. You had to fish through areas in order to find these fish with the way we did it starting out. And it was fun. There was an element of mystery there that you don't have today, because now what people do is they get out on these ledges and points and they down image and they side image the place and they get on there and they've got their live scoping and everything, and they don't even make a cast. They just roll through these areas, and if they don't see any activity or any fish, they just go on to the next one. And when you do find some fish, there's no mystery to it, because you find a group of fish that's wadded up on a little creek channel intersection that you've side imaged or down imaged, and you see them on your live scope. You know they're going to bite. You just know what's fixing to happen. And that's not the way it was back in the late 80s. You had that mystery and magic that went to it. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that you dudes out there that are that use every aspect of technology to fish offshore, I'm not saying you guys are bad dudes, not at all, because I understand that there's an art form to using those modern day electronics, and I respect that. I mean, because for example, everybody knows I work with Johnny Schultz at Fish the Moment. I know how hard Johnny works at that. Johnny is arguably, in my opinion, the best offshore angler in the country for reading electronics, and he puts the work in. That guy has spent thousands of hours idling and deciphering what he's looking at. So I respect the amount of effort it takes to perfect that art form. What I'm saying in this particular instance is that I think a lot of people in today's world of offshore fishing, they miss out on what that magic and that mystery was like back in the day when I started out. Because when you say, for example, back when we were fishing like the ledge lakes in Kentucky Lake back in the 80s, most people didn't fish offshore back then. Most people were up on the bank, just beating the bank, doing whatever. But if you were fortunate enough to be able to line up on one of those creek channel intersections, you guys know what I'm talking about. If you fish the TVA lakes, they're way offshore and there's not much to triangulate. So if you actually got on that little sweet spot of a creek channel intersection, there's an extremely good chance that even if you caught a load of fish there one day, you may never find that again. You may miss it by 10 feet, because if you get out there and there's 3-foot waves blowing and you got to triangulate something and you got to head on a compass course reading, and you got no way to mark it because you don't have a GPS. That's why people were not consistent fishing offshore back then. And that's why there was a few guys like David Fritz that were masters of that, and they blew everyone away at that technique. But the point what I'm making, it's just like with your primitive bow skills. It's like when you make a primitive bow, like I've done before, and you go out and you get intimate with an animal and you track it and you figure out its movements, and you gain this respect for the animal that you're getting ready to take, and you get close to it. It's this, and if that hunt is successful, there's a tremendous amount of satisfaction that goes with that goes well beyond just the killing, because it's not at that point it's true hunting. It's not killing, in my opinion. If you're using the drones and the cameras, the trail cams and the $2,000 bows, that you're just killing. You're not hunting anymore. There's no hunting skills with it. So it's sort of the same with what I'm talking about with the offshore fishing. It's just, I think that a lot of people today are missing out on that wonderment and mystery and magic that came from not knowing what was offshore. When you pulled up on those points or ledges, or if you were fortunate enough to find a brush pile, you had no idea what was out there. There was a sense of excitement and wonderment, and when you did get a bite, the experience of getting that bite was tenfold from what it is when you graph across an area and you see a wad of fish there and you know it's fixing to happen. So some of you guys may understand what I'm talking about there. Some of you guys may not. I mean, some of you old school dudes may not. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I just wish everybody now that fished offshore could go back 35, 40 years ago, like when I started doing it, and understand how it was better. Because now it's no fun for me. It's no fun for me to fish offshore because I don't have any type of or wonderment or just curiosity or anticipation like I did before. I know that everybody else out there is doing it. I know that you can't go up to an obvious creek intersection like you could 35 years ago and catch fish, because everybody knows where that's at. And I know that guys that catch them, that are good offshore, they're looking for these fish on places where most people have never even considered to fish them because they've been pushed off these other areas. So it's just not fun for me anymore. It's just really not any fun. And that's why that I stay on the bank most of the time. And, I just get a lot more enjoyment out of fishing because of that. So anyway, just a few thoughts there, guys. Shoot me some comments, let you guys let me know what you think. Again, if you're an offshore angler, if you're one of those live scopers that love to do that stuff, I'm not saying you're bad at all. I'm just saying that it's sort of like, I think a lot of people they've missed out on what it was like before that happened. If you don't have any frame of reference, you don't know what I'm talking about. If you've never used an old flasher and a compass and triangulated a spot offshore, you don't know what I'm really talking about. But I think a lot of you guys get the point. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll talk later.